Before we start, I'll be taking, first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm not seeing much of familiar faces here. So let me introduce myself first before we start. I'll be taking your corporate laws and economic laws, law subject paper number 13. I am Pruthvi Sir. I am a chartered accountant, cost accountant, and company secretary. I've started my career as a chartered accountant, but later on got to know about these two courses, CMA and CS. Once I've started my CA, and because of the right mentorship I had at my time, I was able to complete my CS and CMA at a earlier age before CA was completed. Because back in the day when we used to write CS, we wrote CS, we did not have these articles as a mandation. So we completed CS at a very early age. I've completed my CS at the age of 19, then followed up by my CA and CMA at the age of 21. Once those were done, as soon as I've completed my CS, I've stepped into this teaching career. At the age of 19 itself, when I was done with my company secretary, I came into this teaching career. And obviously, company secretary being the law subject, I've stepped into law subject. There was an opportunity for me to step into law. I grabbed it at that point of time and continued teaching from then. So I'll be teaching your law subject for the next 3 to 3.5 months of time it will take for us to complete the syllabus. There will be a lot of topics which are not completely a loop of circle is not given by CMA final syllabuses. For example, there are a lot of topics in our company law which doesn't make sense unless otherwise you read the other part of the syllabus which is not in not as a curriculum in your topics. So we will be having a extensive study of the law where we'll also be learning those things which are not part of your syllabus, those things which are also part of your syllabus. We'll make sure that we'll do all the writing practices, we'll go back and do past papers, all the past MQPs we have, all this thing will be done in the classroom itself. And some days I'll be also giving you homeworks. I know you are at the final level. I'll not be treating you as a child and giving homeworks on daily basis. Maybe weekly once or twice we'll have homework on the question bank. You'll get the question bank hardly in another 10 or 15 days. I'm still working on it. I'm going to compile it in another 10 to 15 days. There are a lot of mistakes in ICMA material. So I have to go back and make sure that the ICMA material mistakes have been rectified, and I'll compile a updated material for you, which includes all the past papers. The 2022 syllabus was introduced like 2.5 years back. Every single question that has been asked by ICMA will be compiled into the question bank. You'll get the question bank in 10 to 15 days. Our way of teaching in the classes, so coming to the subject paper 13 first. Paper 13 and especially your group 3 in total. I hope you have at least a basic knowledge of what is the subjects for you. Group 3, you have 4 subjects. Group 4, you have 4 subjects. First subject would be your law. Then you have your SFM. Then direct taxation and your SCM. I guess SCM started today, right? So all the 4 subjects at the group 3 level are very massive in nature. All the 3 subjects are very massive in nature. That's the reason you might have also come across this pass percentage of CMA final. Have you seen that? Group 4 had the pass percentage of close to 51 percentage. Group 4 had 51 percentage of pass percentage, whereas group 3 had 14 or 15 percentage of pass percentage. The very reason for it was none of the 4 subjects are scoring in nature. None of the 4 subjects are predictable in nature. When you come for group 4, especially few topics, few subjects in group 4 are very predictable in nature. You can expect the question paper basically. That's the reason you pick up any of your seniors answer sheets, mark sheets, you'll find this subject as a most scoring part. And this subject audit has made them get the aggregate for the entire group 4, but that doesn't happen in any of the subjects in group 3. All the 4 subjects in group 3 are very massive in nature. It is going to take at least 3.5 months of time with a regular 2.5 3 hours of sessions on a daily basis to complete the entire syllabus. So given the fact that group 3 is very difficult in nature, what we expect from you guys is what most of you at the inter level might have spent 2.5 months of time to complete CMA Inter. Let's be honest with ourselves, we did not spend our entire 9 months very focused on the subject. We have spent the last 2.5 months of time focused on the part of studying, focus on the part of writing exams, etc., to clear out CMA Inter. But that's not going to work at final level. You have to start your workload from the very day one. From here on, the next 9 months will be completely a pressured work for you. You have to put in efforts. Unless otherwise you're going to put in efforts for the entire 9 months, you can't see the positive results for both groups in the first attempt. CMA final is a lot more difficult as compared to your CMA inter. You have already seen this transition, CMA foundation. Frankly speaking, we did not even study for CMA foundation. We showed up for the exam and we passed out. But once the foundation was done, CMA inter was altogether different ball game. You had a lot of efforts to put in, lot of different subjects, lot of depth in the subjects, lot of memory to be tackled up with. So you have spent a good amount of efforts as compared to foundation, and that's the same thing is going to be expected at the final level. Final level will be a little more difficult than compared to your CMA inter, but trust me, the process would be not to put in more efforts, but to put the efforts for more consistent and over a long period of time. It's not going to happen in the last 3 months. None of it is going to happen overnight for CMA final. It's going to happen from the very day one. Unless otherwise you're able to tackle all the 4 subjects by the time the classes are done. Because once a group 3 is done, 3.5 months of time from here, we are hoping to complete it by the end of May, possibly for group 3. And the next 3 months of time you'll have for group 4. So group 4 subjects, by the time group 4 starts, it's obvious that you're going to forget everything from group 3. You have faced this already. Once the other subjects start, you'll forget everything about. Forget about other subjects. Sir. Today, whatever class happens, tomorrow we'll forget it. That's the way it is drafted here. But after the entire classes are done, you'll have a study period of 3 months. That 3 months is a period where you start revising everything, not preparing everything. The preparation part should be done within your classes as soon as a class is done. What is expected from your side for my subject specifically is, first thing I want short notes to be maintained. We'll do writing practice in the class. We'll be doing writing practice as well as we'll be doing short notes. I'll make you guys write all the flow charts or the charts format of answers. If it is difficult from the material to be written, I'll make a chart in the class itself. So I want a ruled book, not a plain book. I want a ruled, if possible, a king size book. Boys, at least one pen. Girls, you can carry multiple pens if you want. Boys, carrying one pen is more difficult for us. So get one pen at least and one book for mandatory. So writing practice will be done in the class, and don't expect me to give the entire book as such running notes for you. Your entire syllabus of CMA final law, I've divided that into multiple chapters. It came up to 37 different chapters. How many? 37 different chapters are there for your syllabus. Remembering the headings of chapter itself is a hassle for us now. So 37 different chapters, it will not be practically possible for us to sit down and write every single thing in the class. Wherever it is difficult for you to understand from the material, or wherever the concept requires the depth of it, we'll make charts in the class. I'll make you guys write it and I'll give you time in the class. Otherwise, there will be some parts of the syllabus where, for example, the very first chapter, the formation of companies, is basically everything you have learned at the CMA inter level itself. But the chapter is going to repeat again, and I'm not going to skip the chapter. I'm going to continue teaching the chapter in my own way of teaching, because the rest of the Companies Act, I want you to be in my groove of teaching, my groove of understanding the concept. So formation of company will be again taught as if you have no knowledge about it. And I hope, I'm pretty sure that you are carrying none of the knowledge from CMA inter. Are you having any knowledge from CMA inter? I hope not. Okay, I don't think you're carrying any of that concept from CMA inter. So we'll go from the very basics, we'll scratch from the very basic, we'll understand the very reason why company got incorporated, etc. We'll start from that basics, and we have close to 14 different chapters under Companies Act. Out of the 37, we have 14 chapters from Companies Act, which are going to carry somewhere around 50 to 60 marks of your syllabus. So Companies Act, after Companies Act, we have multiple laws. You have faced this problem at the inter level also. We had multiple different kind of laws in your inter syllabus, which made us difficult to understand and remember everything. First, we started with the company law. That itself was a very huge syllabus for us. After company law, we had to tackle other commercial laws, the Contract Act, Sale of Goods Act, Partnership, NI, and LLP. All of them had a different ideology and different thinking process. After commercial laws are done, we had to jump into industrial laws again, and every industrial law is again from the perspective of the worker employer, different logic altogether. Then on top of all of this, we had to learn ethics. As if we did not have ethics, we had to learn ethics from the beginning. You know ethics, right? You have ethics? Yes. You have ethics? But ICMA Institute doesn't believe that you have ethics. ICMA Institute, that's the reason they have added ethics in your CMA Inter. And they believe that you have not learned CMA Inter ethics properly. That's the reason they also gave ethics in final now again. We have again the logic of ethics, but it is polisely called as corporate governance. It is actually ethical concept, but is ethical concept applied in the concept of business activities called as corporate governance. We'll learn that logic again. Reason being, once you pass out, once you are completing your CMA final, you are not a normal employee. You will be in those situations in the future where you are going to take managerial decisions. You're going to run the company. You are going to be the face of the company. So being in those positions, you have to tackle these technical situations where you have to take ethical decisions. That's the institute's intention, is that you have to be trained from the very beginning to take those ethical decisions, which are not only benefiting a particular group of people, but going to benefit the society as a whole. So they want you not only to pass out and give knowledge to the society, but also benefit the society as a whole. So corporate governance is one part of that syllabus, which is going to tackle your ethical aspects. Will make you guys learn the ethical logics. But CMA final is going to have multiple other topics also. Now, don't get scared. I don't want to scare you on the very day one here, but we have multiple laws in the process. One is obviously your company law. Company law, if you guys remember, at the inter level, we had section numbers 1 to 122. And one more thing, we'll be learning section numbers in the Companies Act also. We'll be practicing section numbers in the company law. That should be your strong point. This is where you're going to create impression as compared to any other paper that the evaluate is correcting out. So this should be your strong point. This should be something where you are very picture perfect with every minute point of it. You should be strong on the company side. We'll be learning section numbers and form numbers if possible. That was your foundational, inter level from section 1 to 122. We here will be tackling from section 123 to close to section 240. We'll be tackling all these sections under company law for us. Multiple chapters will be there. We'll tackle all those in the company law process. Then after company law is done, we have SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India. The Securities Exchange Board of India, we're not going to learn the entire SEBI process. Entire SEBI process is very huge in nature. Out of SEBI, we're going to learn three different kind of regulations specifically given. We'll learn about the process on how a company goes for a public offer. Very interesting logic. How a company goes for public offer, what happens before the company goes for public offer. So that you'll understand the background on how a company prepares itself while it is going for a public offer, especially the initial public offer IPOs. Very interesting topic. Then second category. This will be something I'm not giving the exact headings. I'll go through the headings later. Second topic, we have something called as insider trading. Very interesting topic again. Nothing but you as a managerial person will have information that is not available to the public at large. You'll be attending board meetings. You'll be attending managerial meetings of the company. You have such kind of information with you, which is not available with the public at large. There's a chance that you might misuse this information. That person who is having information which is not available to the public is called an insider. An insider, can he come and trade? If he trades, there is a advantage for him, unfair advantage for him as compared to the public at large. We'll learn on how an insider will trade his. He's allowed to trade or not allowed to trade. If he's allowed to trade, what's the rules and regulations to be followed, etc. Then we have a concept called as takeover. Takeover is nothing but a company can it purchase another company. A company can it take a control over another company. That's where the subsidiary holding comes in, right? A company can take over another company, but when it comes to the listed category of companies, if a company controls another company and the control is shifted from one person to another person, assume this, Akash. For example, there is a specific company in which Mukesh Ambani has invested 70% of his shares. Mukesh Ambani is holding 70% in a particular company. Now think about this as a company here. Do you believe this company? Will this company run away tomorrow morning? Will it close it tomorrow morning and abscond with the money? No, because it is being run by whom? Mukesh Ambani. He is not going to run away with the money so invested into a particular company. Will have at least a minimum amount of trust and goodwill into the company. But all of a sudden, what happened? Akash came and purchased this company and took over the control. Now we invested with the very reason that the person in control is trustworthy in nature. Now coming to Akash, whether he is trustworthy, he is also smiling. So he's not trustworthy. What happens here? Whenever in case of a listed company, a person comes and takes over the control, the non-controlling public will be affected because they have placed trust on Mukesh Ambani rather than Akash. So this process of change in the control has to be carefully taken so that the public will not be affected. That's where the process comes in called as takeover. All three different logics of SEBI will be discussed in the process. We are not done yet. We have just started our syllabus. Then we have IBC, Insolvency Bankruptcy Code of India, how a company will be declared as insolvent. Now, let's take a small example on that. What do you mean by insolvent? You have learned this word insolvent. You have heard this word many times, insolvent. What do you mean by insolvent? And one more small request. This is absolutely a theory subject. Uh, this is not a theory subject where it is more focused on the concept. It is more focused on the concept plus a procedure. So this won't be a monologue. I don't want to be a monologue in the class. It should be a duologue. It should be a communication from both ends. It doesn't matter whether your answer is right or wrong. I want communication from your side. If it is right, we'll work on the right things. If it is wrong, we'll understand why it is wrong. But I want communications in the answers. Responses are more important for me than the rightful answer. Doesn't matter it is right or wrong. Just shoot out whatever comes to your mind. We'll change the mindset because your CMA final has shifted its agenda from giving direct questions to case studies now. Back in the day, like 2 years back, CMA final was always direct questions. Now the last couple of exams you have seen, 50 to 60% of your questions in law syllabus are all case studies. You'll be able to tackle those case studies only when your mindset is in the right format. So I want your mindset to work, not only the memory part to work. Conceptual clarity should also very important for you. So give me the answer here. What do you mean by insolvent? When the liabilities are more than assets. So I'll give you three situations. Give me whether it is solvent or insolvent. Liabilities are more than assets. Solvent or insolvent? Liabilities are equal to assets or liabilities are less than assets. So when is the insolvency situation going to arise? Only when liabilities are more than assets. The definition got deleted in the year 2016. Once IBC came into existence, the definition of liability more than assets got deleted completely. We have altogether different definition years. Assume this. I have a liability assuming of say 50 lakhs and I also have an asset worth of say 40 lakhs. Am I solvent or insolvent? But sir, this 50 lakhs of liability that is existing in my hand today is not repayable today. It is repayable after 10 years. In this 10 years, I can grow my asset. In this 10 years, I can turn out my asset to be more than 50 lakhs. So it is not today whether liabilities are more than assets or not. I'll check when the liabilities will become due. When will the liabilities become due? 10 years. So I'll make an assumption on how my assets will be there after 10 years and then I'll decide whether I'm solvent or insolvent. So insolvency is now depending upon whether person is able to, remember the word, able to pay his liabilities when they become due. Not today we are going to check it. This was the concept back in 2016. Once IBC came into existence, we have completely changed the logics. Now, assume this, if the company is insolvent, what should be done? Assume the company got declared as insolvent. What should be done? Company should be do. What should the company do? Liquidate it. The first thing that comes to your mind is once it is insolvent, it should be liquidated. Now understand this, if it is liquidated, what will happen? Unemployment. All the businesses which are connected to this business will be affected. Raw material supplier, customers, workers, GDP, exports, foreign exchange. There are a lot of difficulties that arise if a company closes down. And to incorporate another company and bring it to this particular stage is going to take another 5 to 6 years. Can I say our growth has been backed up with 5 to 10 years of time? So insolvency is a situation which will lead to liquidation, but liquidation is not good for the society. Then government has introduced a new law called as Insolvency Bankruptcy Code, which doesn't focus on the liquidation as a first option. I'll try and recover this company, revive this company to the good positions where they'll be able to run the business. If the revival process is not possible, then I'll ask them to liquidate. So it is not liquidation all the time. The liquidation is a last resort, last option for me. But before I decide to be liquidating it, I have to try and revive the company. That is called as corporate insolvency resolution process. I'll revive the company. If the revival is not a possibility, it is not possible to revive the company at all. The company is so worse that I cannot revive it now. Then I'll go for liquidation. So this process of how to revive the company and the process of how to liquidate the company, we learned in the chapter called as Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. So we had three different acts already and three different logics already. And Companies Act, obviously I've said this, 14 different chapters are there. All the 14 different chapters are for different perspectives. Then once this is done, we'll go into a specific topic called as MSME. Heard about it? Micro, small, medium enterprises. So I'll give a just about a small introduction about MSMEs. As soon as you hear this micro and small industries, your attention don't is not grabbed by these kind of entities. You are always focused and you are always leaning towards this big huge companies in India, Reliance, Infosys, Tata, etc. But these are the not companies which are running India. These are the micro industries which run India. They micro industries are the second largest employment producer in India after agriculture. Imagine if this entity, these kind of category of entities close down. What will happen? India is going to completely run out of employment. If unemployment creates, already India is suffering with unemployment now. If unemployment even further creeps up, it will create a lot of criminal activities in India. It will be a lot of chained reaction if the unemployment creates. So MSME sector has second largest employment creation in India, or else it has 40% of our exports out of India. That's a huge number. 40% of our exports from India comes from the small industries, not the big industries, you know. And or otherwise, take in another fact. MSME, the one of the major reasons why MSME are promoted is India. Okay. And one more thing, if you are my student at the inter level, you already know. Otherwise, my drawings are very bad. This is India. Okay. You have to take assumptions on that. Okay, that is India. Obviously, this is what you should start learning, Amma. Telangana. You should know your geographics. That is Telangana. Okay, that is Telangana. Now, give me the answer here. India. I'll give you options. Give me answer. Is it developed, underdeveloped, or developing? Underdeveloped, developed, or developing? Sure? All of you are wrong. I'll give you another option and then a chance to answer. Developing, developed, or underdeveloped? Developing is a wrong answer. Underdeveloped. No. Developed. What is left out? Developed. That is also a wrong answer. What's the right answer is Hyderabad. Developed. Say Karimnagar, Warangal, or Nizamabad. Can I say developing? Still rural parts of India which are underdeveloped. India is not as a whole developed or underdeveloped. Certain parts of India are developed. Go to Delhi, you'll find all the amenities that are possible to be found outside India. Go to Mumbai, you'll find everything. Go to Chennai, you'll find everything. But there are some parts of India even where you don't have electricity today. So India is not developed, India is not underdeveloped. Part of India is developed. Part of India is underdeveloped, part of India is developing. So this differentiation of development happened because of the urbanization that has happened in India. The all urban cities you see, all the urban towns which we see today are developing in a rapid phase. But there are still rural areas in India which are not even developed. This MSME sectors are something which are set up not in urban areas. They cannot afford the rents in urban areas. They're usually set up in the rural areas. That creates an equitable amount of development. That is one of the major reasons why MSMEs are protected. So if you come into a large industry, say TCS, if they incur loss for 1 year, what will happen? They're huge enough to sustain the loss. Loss for second year. Doesn't matter, they'll sustain it. Loss for third year. Doesn't matter, they'll sustain it. An MSME. Loss for 1 year. They'll close the business. They don't have huge amount of backup. They don't have huge amount of resources. There comes the government. Government states that I am there as a backup for you. I'll gonna protect and promote all these MSME sectors. How does the central government promote MSME sector is gonna be our syllabus. So in the future, as a cost accountant, you will come across MSME sector. Definitely, you will come across MSME sectors. Whenever you come across MSME sector, you should be able to provide them proper amount of knowledge on what benefits are available for MSME. And one more problem in India is that government always creates policies, but government is unable to communicate the policies to the public at large. We have a lot of very good policies in India, but nobody knows that policies are existing. The lack of communication becomes a problem in India again. Then you are basically going to act as that bridging gap between the policy maker MSME and the needful person, the MSME entity. So if you are appointed as a cost accountant or you're working with an MSME in the future, you should be able to portray all the knowledge you have learned under MSME and give them the benefits that are possible as an MSME sector. So MSME is one thing, very important chapter for exam perspective also. Then we learn about Competition Act. At the foundation, we have seen this in economics. Monopoly. And one more thing, guys, one more disclaimer. My spellings. Drawings are a lot better than my spellings. I'll definitely make mistakes in spellings. I'm very bad at spellings, and trust me, I've passed all the three courses with these spellings itself. So if at all I write a wrong spelling, what should you do? If you know the right spelling, write it. If you don't know it, assume this is right and write it. But don't question me or don't correct me. Okay. Most of the time I'll ask if I'm not comfortable with the spelling. If I don't and ask and write something, assume that that is right. If you know the right spelling, note it down in your notes, but don't question my spellings. Okay. Competition Act. You have seen this monopoly? Monopoly. So what is monopoly? How many sellers are there? A single seller. But how many buyers are there? Large number of buyers. If there are large number of buyers and a single seller, obviously the seller will be using his dominance in the market. He'll be price setter or price taker. He's gonna set the price. If the price is set at 10, the customer has to purchase it at. If the price is set at 20, he has to purchase because there's no alternative possible in the process. There's no substitute possible. He has to purchase it. 20. So the monopoly will always gonna abuse the customer and make benefit out of it. Then we had a previous act called as MRTP, Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices Act 1969. But later we have introduced a new act called as Competition Act 2002. I'll give a basic example, understand the difference here. Say there are three sellers in the market. Don't think further than my question. Think only till I have asked a question. Don't think further, you'll get confused. There are three sellers in the market, and one of the seller enters into an agreement with another seller for restraint of trade, stating that exit the market, I'll give you an X amount of money. Is this contract has created monopoly? Yes or no? I want a one word answer. Does this contract create monopoly? Answer is no. It has not created monopoly. There are still two sellers in the market. Got the logic? This contract has not created monopoly in the market, but this is going to have an adverse impact on the market. Now, the Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices Act, MRTP, was only focused on the logic where the agreement was creating a monopoly, did not concern about this. But the competition law states that, forget about the word monopoly, I am here to create competition. Whenever competition is getting reduced, I'll step in and I'll stop the process. So my intention is not to create or stop monopoly. My intention is to promote and develop competition in the market. Whenever competition increases, whenever seller increases, number of sellers increases, it will always be benefit for the market. So entire Competition Act has never used the word monopoly at all. They didn't even use the word monopoly in the entire act. Their focus was only to promote competition. But sir, indirectly by promoting competition, can I say monopoly will be restricted? Our main intention is not to restrict monopoly, but promoting competition that indirectly restricts the monopoly. So Competition Act was introduced in the year 2002. Again, a very important and very logical concept. We can relate to all the practical examples that are possible for Competition Act, combinations, etc. We'll go for it, and we'll also see about this all the telecom industry. Vodafone and Idea. We'll look at that case also. We'll look at Airtel and Jio. What did Jio do in 2016-17? All these categories will do practical examples on the Competition Act. That is not even half of your syllabus yet. First, we have discussed about the company law. We have 14 different chapters of company law. Then we'll jump into securities law, altogether different. Then we'll jump into the insolvency law, altogether different logic. Then the MSME Act. A separate act is there, MSME Development Act. That is a different logic altogether. Then we'll go into competition. Then we'll go into a separate chapter called as PMLA. Again, a separate logic. Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. What is money laundering? What is laundry? What is laundry? What is laundry? What is simply the word laundry? Heard about it, right? Laundry. What is laundry? Indama? Washing clothes. Now, obviously, what is money laundry? Washing money. We'll put it in the washing machine. By tomorrow morning, money laundering is done. So that's the logic basically. We are trying to remove the black mark on the money so that it will be clean money. Tainted money and untainted money, or the we'll convert the black money into a clean money, black money into white money. That is the concept by which the word money laundering comes in. We should promote money laundering or prevent money laundering? Think an answer. Promote or prevent? Prevent money laundering. So Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. It's a very small chapter in our syllabus. We'll understand first the first day of the chapter. We'll understand what is money laundering. We'll do money laundering. I mean, to prevent money laundering, you should understand money laundering, right? So first class, we'll do money laundering. Okay, we'll do some illegal activity. We'll get money. We'll do the money laundering. Once money laundering is done, then we'll come back and try to find the loopholes in the entire process to prevent it. So Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002, a separate chapter. And then after that, we have all miscellaneous topics. We have banking law, insurance law, and banking, insurance, and FEMA. Foreign Exchange Management Act, Banking Act is there, Insurance Act is there. We have this competition is done, right? And on top of this, we have all the corporate governances. Corporate governance has 5 different topics again. 5 different topics, including your CSR. What is CSR? Corporate social responsibility. One of the corporate governance topics. 5 different topics are there. This includes your CSR. Then we have our banking law. We have insurance, foreign exchange management, we have our Information Technology Act. This includes 3 things. Information Technology Act, we'll understand cyber crimes that are happening in the market. We'll understand the business intelligence, how to do business with the help of the information technology. That's your syllabus in total. I know we've discussed syllabus in half an hour. This will expand to 3.5 months of time. So we have a lot of syllabus, basically speaking, to tackle. We'll obviously start with what? Company law. This will be fetching you close to 50 to 60 marks of your syllabus, and the rest of the topics will come from rest of the topics. And one more thing, CMA interlaw. I know CMA interlaw was also difficult. Was it difficult? Yes or no? If you feel yes, get ready for CMA final. CMA interlaw, I know syllabus was very huge in nature, but the exam pattern was all predictable every time. We knew that learning 3 different chapters, we are done with the process. Learn Companies Act, learn ethics, learn the Contract Act. You will be able to write all the 70 marks. Don't even have to touch the rest of commercial laws. Don't even have to touch the commercial laws. You will be able to write the entire 70 marks. Read 3 chapters. And if you want to be a little risky, leave the Companies Act, read only board of directors. You'll at least write 60 to 65 marks of it. At least 60 marks you can attend out of the 70 marks if you read only these topics. And all 3 topics combined together, it will be hardly 70-60 pages of book. So practically speaking, you didn't have to put in huge amount of efforts for CMA Inter, because the question paper pattern was always predictable in nature. CMA Inter law was fine. CMA final. Questions will not be predictable in nature. Questions are not following a particular pattern. There will be combination of Companies Act with one question from MSME. There will be a combination from IBC and Securities Law, IBC and Information Technology Act. So unless otherwise you are familiar and comfortable with every single chapter, you will not be able to write the 70 marks. So there is no selective study that is possible at the final level, especially with our subject. Not a possibility to do selective study. Sir, I'll study only Companies Act. It's going to come for 50 to 60 marks. I'll prepare for this. I'll be good enough to write exam. No, that's not going to happen. This will be combined with the other question which is coming from some other chapter. So you can't take choice of any other chapter. Every single chapter is important. You can't, you will do a priority study. Obviously, Companies Act will be your priority, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna do a selective study that you'll read only Companies Act. Every single chapter will become a priority. No chapter should be left unread or left completely alone. We have to tackle all the chapters. But once we start writing the answers, the first 4 to 5 pages, in order to create impression, we have to make sure that we write answers with good amount of quantity, good amount of quality, and section numbers if possible. Because CMA final students, most of the students have knowledge, but they don't know how to present the answer. what should be the niche between them and us, what should be the difference between them and us is to able to present the answer in a rightful manner with the conceptual knowledge. I'll show you guys one paper, a paper which he got somewhere around 78 or 80 marks. It was not even having proper concept in it, but he had the memory part with him. He had memory part, he has put in the wordings, but he doesn't have a conceptual clarity on the topic, but he still scored somewhere around 70 or 80 something. I'll show you the paper once I get it. But what is expected from our side is, coming to this SEBI. SEBI, they have not given the act at all. They have not given SCRA, they have not given Securities Contract Regulation Act, they have not given SEBI Act. They have given 3 regulations. That means you are gonna jump into the ocean and take out a small glass of water from that, and you're learning only that glass of water. You're not learning the entire SEBI law. You're learning a part of SEBI law. Hence, we'll not be able to come and accumulate every single knowledge of SEBI law every single time. There will be some parts of our syllabus which will be uh, there will be some stones of our syllabus which will be unturned. We'll not be able to go through every single concept on every single word. If that has to be done, we have to read the entire SEBI law. That's not practically possible for us. So only chapter which you will get the entire loop of concept is your Companies Act. So Companies Act should be your strong point. SEBI, IBC, MSME, all these chapters, you'll learn them, but you'll not learn them with huge amount of conceptual clarity. I'll give you a lot of logics, but that is not going to be as comparable with your Companies Act. So the first 4 to 5 pages of your answer sheet should always be Companies Act. A lot of quantity you can write, a lot of quality of answer you can present, section numbers you can present, everything. So it'll be easy for you to score impression on the evaluator by writing Companies Act. So we'll focus on the Companies Act itself. So leave our subject for a time being. We'll start the process tomorrow. Coming to CMA final, I hope you guys understand that in the next, by this time next year, you'll be attending already interviews. All the students who have written the exams in the last December, passed out, they're starting their process of preparing resume, etc. By this time next year, you will be in the process of preparing resumes, preparing for the interview, attending interviews. You will be within a month or so from here, you will be backing one or the other job. So I hope your career is that at that particular peak where you know what's going to happen in the next 9 months, and you are smart enough and matured enough to understand the efforts that are required to put in. At the CMA inter level and foundation level, I believe that CMA inter was the most difficult part for you mentally, because coming from foundation level, you didn't expect this huge amount of lump in your hand, huge amount of syllabus in your hand. You have to adjust to this huge amount of syllabus. CMA foundation was basically done without much of knowledge, without much of realization. You have done CMA foundation, but once you stepped into CMA inter, you didn't know that huge amount of syllabus is there. You have to study these long hours. Have you ever imagined you'll do a night out, but you have did it? Have you ever imagined you're gonna study after 12 o'clock? You did it. Yeah, have you ever imagined you're gonna get up at 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning and start studying with books especially? No, never imagine this. But you have put in efforts. Very congratulations on completing your CMA inter. Huge congratulations. You have passed one of the difficult part of your CMA journey. But now I assume that you have enough amount of maturity to understand what CMA requires from you. You know what CMA requires. You know how much efforts are required. You know what's on the line. But if you don't put effort for the next 9 months, who's to blame? Ourselves. It's ourselves to blame. If you fail CMA once or twice, I don't blame you. I blame the syllabus. I blame the curriculum that has been drafted by CMA. CMA should have done a little more intensity, little more toughness into the foundation level also, to make you guys wake up for the CMA inter. But failing CMA final is whose default? Students default completely. You have to put in efforts for the next 9 months, irrespective of the situation. Putting efforts from a daily basis from here will get you the results. Now, I don't want to brag about it, but students who have stayed in the study hours in the last December attempt, there were 20 to 25 students who have stayed in the study hours till then. All of them have passed one or the other group. Out of those 25, 12 to 13 members passed both groups, and rest of them passed single group. What was the difference between them and the other students? Other students did not write the grand test. Other students never studied from the day one. Other students were not dedicated enough for CMA final. So I hope you understand the pattern here. If you want to see yourself on the successful side, if you want to see on the other side of the bank, only thing that's gonna help you is consistent efforts for the next 9 months. No other alternative. There's no shortcut for this. There is no other possibility for you to pass out unless otherwise you put in 9 months of continuous hard work. Your daily schedule will be somewhere around morning 7 o'clock. They've informed it. Your classes will be from morning 7. Classes will might go till 6 or 7 in the evening. After that, you have to revise everything on the day. You have to write weekend exams. You'll have weekend exams from Saturday, every Saturday and every Monday. Write weekend exams on daily basis, regular basis. We'll have some grand test possible in the 3 month session of our syllabuses. Write grand test. Make sure that you are studying on a regular basis. So basically, your timings will be till at least 10 or 11 on a daily basis. Be mentally prepared for it. I don't want to scare you, but I do want you guys to be mentally prepared for all this, what's going to come at you. 10 to 11, 10, 11 till in the evening, every single day, that's going to be common. If at all you are unable to put in efforts for this, trust me, if you fail CMA final for the first attempt, and that's going to keep rolling, it's going to have a snowball effect. It's going to keep increasing. Because CMA final syllabus is so huge in nature, once the classes are done and you are preparing on a regular basis and you write exam and you fail for the first time, what will happen in the second attempt? You'll forget all the classes. You'll forget all the knowledge that is being given to you from the classes. You have to put in more efforts. Third attempt, more efforts from student. Fourth attempt, more efforts from the student. So as the attempt passes, the efforts from your side increases. Now, one thing, whether you have to pass out CMA, yes or no? Yes, there's no second thought in it. If not this attempt, next attempt you have to put in efforts. So better to put in efforts in the first attempt rather to drag it down to the second, third efforts and have to third attempt and have to put in more amount of efforts into it. So the first attempt is always considered as a golden attempt for you. If you had to put in efforts, put in the very first attempt. Make sure that the classes are useful for you in the first attempt. We'll have all the possible resources for you. Your question banks, your materials, your grand test, everything will be taken care of. Only thing is, trust us. Continue the process till the 9 months. Trust until the 9 months. Don't have to refer to any other book. Don't have to refer to any other question bank, etc. Everything will be provided to you for every single subject. You'll get question banks, MCQs, you'll get the materials, everything will be provided to you, right? So one more small request from my side, coming to my subject, I'll be giving you hand notes on the subject. I'm revamping the entire syllabus, entire old book I'm revamping and making sure that it is a lot easier and feasible for you to study. So I'm making changes in the material. I'll be able to give the material on a handout basis. I'm not able to give the entire content on day one. I'll give chapter wise topics. I'll give you a stick file. Make sure that you maintain them properly until the classes are done. So that will be a small request from my side. I'll give a chapter wise topic. I'm revamping the entire syllabus again. So it's going to take time from my side. I don't want to rush and create a random material and give it to your hand. I want to make sure that material is properly drafted. So I have to put in efforts. I'll put it, but it'll have to happen in the next 3 months. So on a regular basis, I'll give the material. It will be handed over to your hand before the class starts. That I can promise. Say if tomorrow we're going to start the topic of formation, I'll give you the material beforehand itself. So it will be tackling with the class and tackling with the subject also, right? If you have any doubts regarding the subject or the syllabus, please shoot it out. Any doubts? Any doubts? And I hope everybody is comfortable with English. We'll have the entire classes in English itself. Okay. Any other doubts for you? Can we start from tomorrow? What's the time? 12:20. Can we start the syllabus from tomorrow directly? Let's not lag it out. We'll start the syllabus from tomorrow and we'll be starting the first 10 to 15 classes will be basically your CMA inter syllabus itself. All the topic of formation of company, how does a company come into existence, what is MOA, AOA, all this basic knowledge itself will be revised again. I'll be a little quick on these topics. I'm not going to skip them. I know a lot of faculties skip all these topics and directly jump into the board of directors. I'm not going to skip them. I want you guys to understand the very basics of Companies Act perfectly. Uh, Half of you, I'm not familiar with half of your faces. You might have taken CM Inter from elsewhere. I don't know whether you have the very conceptual knowledge of how companies formed and etc. So we'll go from the very basics. Stick with me next 7 to 8 days. If you already know this logic, it will be a little boring for you. It will not be something which is eye-opening for you for the next 7 to 8 days if you already have the knowledge. But I want these topics to be understood in my perspectives, my exact logic of Companies Act. because faculties at the CMA Inter, I don't want to defame any person, but faculties at CMA Inter will not be able to give you the entire knowledge because they don't have the CA final knowledge, CMA final knowledge. They won't be able to loop everything. So if only you have the entire knowledge of company side, you will be able to understand the formation of company properly. So we'll go through the process again. We'll go through the logics of Companies Act again. We'll draw some charts. We'll do the running notes, etc. So what is expected from tomorrow? We'll start the class tomorrow directly. What's the expectation from tomorrow? A little more active in the class. Can I expect that from tomorrow? A little more active in the class, a little more lively in the class, a little more responses, a notebook, a ruled notebook if possible, because our writing are very beautiful. So we have to maintain it good enough. So a ruled book if possible with at least one pen. Okay. Possible? From tomorrow, we'll start the syllabus directly, guys. We'll start with what chapter? Company side. In the company side, we'll start with the formation of company. Otherwise, can I give you some background of company side today? Not part of syllabus, but let's go through the some basic concept of Companies Act. Now, we all know this. A sole proprietor. Say we start the business activity. Whenever we hear the word business, the logic always dates back to the logic of sole proprietor. Before this Companies Act, before this partnership, what was existing initially? A sole proprietor. Partnership was not the way which we started doing business activities. It evolved slowly into partnership and evolved slowly into a company form of business, but actually started from a sole proprietor. What do you mean by sole? Single. And what do you mean by proprietor? Owner. If you have a single owner, that is called as a sole proprietor. Now, any kind of business activity. Okay, give me a business activity. Let's start a business today. Entire companies that will be in the same process. Let's start a business. Pani Puri. I'm drawing a big building and etc. You want Pani Puri. Fine. Pani Puri start cheyadam. Indumu. Didn't get you. Big Pani Puri. Who was that? Perendumu. What's your name? What's your name? That's a Pani Puri stall. What's your name? Perendumu. Mohan. So, Mohan. Who is this? Mohan. Okay. What are we starting? Whether after the class is done at 1 o'clock, Mohan will change his attire. He'll go stand in the stall and he's gonna start selling Pani Puri. Now, for this business to start, whether we have to purchase some assets, what are the assets we have to purchase? Already ready go decide anukunnara entamo. Okay, what are the assets we require? Entamo? Stove. Okay. Vessels. Material, raw material. Whether we have to get a permission, we will rent out a particular place. Rental expenses will also happen. Furniture. At least have some tables or chairs. What else? Mohan, what else is required? Workers. Certified workers also. So we have to hire them. Now, all this is gonna come free of cost. No? Then you have to put in money into the process. So whatever business you start, big, small, whatever nature of business that might be, every single business requires money to start. We'll usually call it as finance. So what is required for this business to start? At least finance. Now, once the business has started with the amount of finance, whether Mohan has knowledge about it, we have to go select a particular location for this business. Location matters a huge way into this business. A long process will be business. Pani Puri business will basically run only when the location is right. Now he went and set up this business in a industrial area. No, he has to set up the business in which area? wherever there are colleges, wherever there are students, wherever people are there. So if he sets the business outside our campus, he'll be profitable. We have customers ready. So we have to select a particular location. We have to select the right amount of ingredients. We have to select the right amount of quality of product. We have to make sure that we are making business profitable with the skill we have used in it. So what is also important is not only the finance, but the way in which you have to run the business activities. So every single business, whether big, small, whether it is a huge business or a small business, wherever it is located, two things are always required. One is finance, one is skill. Now both of them go hand in hand. Without one, we cannot run a profitable business. Assume we have profit, we have finance but no skill. We can start the business, but we cannot make it profitable enough. If you have skill but no finance, we cannot even start the business. So what is important for us? Both finance and skill are very vital for any kind of business that you start. That may be a sole proprietor, that may be a partnership firm, that may be a company form of a business. Every business activity requires finance and skill. But the problem in case of sole proprietor was the finance and skill was brought in by a single person. That means we always had a limited amount of finance and limited amount of skill that is possible in a business. Because of this limited amount of finance and limited amount of skill, we never were able to scale up the business. We were never able to expand the business at a very large scale. So the problem arises that the business will not be able to expand, the business will not be able to get the economies of scale, will not be able to reduce our fixed cost unless otherwise we are doing business at a large scale. That is possible only when you have huge amount of finance. Now, bringing huge amount of finance of thousands of crores for a single individual is practically impossible. Then they slowly converted from a sole proprietorship into a partnership form of a business where two of them combined together started bringing in finance and skill. Can I say now I have double the amount of finance, double the amount of skill? With the increased amount of skill and increased amount of finances, I'll be able to do the business in a larger scale in a optimum manner. Because I have more skill in the process, I'll be able to do business in a most efficient manner. I'll be able to reduce my cost. I'll be able to increase my sales. I'll be able to increase my profit margin. Which business will be more profitable in nature? Sole proprietor or partnership? Obviously partnership. Not only the profit in amount but also profit in percentage, because I'm be able to optimize my business. I'll be able to make more amount of profit margin in my business. So which is obviously better? Partnership. But the partnership also comes with its own disadvantages. Partnership has mutual agency. Acts done by one partner. Who is liable? All the partners. That means one other partner doing one wrongful activity. Akash, Akash goes and enters into contract and incurs a loss. That's a loss for one partner or all the partners. Now all of us have to suffer because of the activity done by him. So this is a problem that arises in case of a partnership firm, or taking the other aspect of partnership firm. We cannot take a decision on our own. We have to consult all the other partners. What happened in case of sole proprietor? We are the king of the business. We can do whatever we want. Nobody is going to question us. We are not accountable to any other person. But when it comes to partnership firm, we are accountable to all other partners. We have to consult all the partners while taking decision activities. So it became difficult for the partnership firm to run businesses with these disadvantages. But again, what's the minimum number of partners? What's the maximum number of partners? What's the maximum? 50. What's the minimum? What's the maximum? None of this minimum maximum are defined by partnership law. Okay, a fun fact. Partnership Act, which year? 1932. Before Partnership Act, we had this Contract Act. Indian Contract Act 18. Initially, the Partnership Act was a part of Indian Contract Act in 1872. Later, it got separated, repealed, and got into a separate enactment called as Indian Partnership Act 1932. Same happened with your Sale of Goods Act also. Sale of Goods Act and partnership were initially a part of your Indian Contract Act. Later got separated, and we separated them into two different enactments. By the year, say 1929, we had only one law. Sale of goods were also taken care by Contract Act. Partnership was also taken care by Contract Act. Because give me the definition of partnership. The very definition of partnership starts with the word, it is an agreement. It's a relation. This relation is created based on an agreement. That agreement is indirectly contract. So the partnership is also a contract between two or more persons for doing a business activity. Got the logic? It is a contract basically, but this Companies Act later part stated that no entity shall run its business activities for profit motive and having more than 50 unless it is converted into a company. It was a little jealous about partnership law. Stated that you cannot run business of partnership if you have more than 50 members unless you are converted into the form of a company. Because whenever you do business at a large scale, whenever you are doing business at a huge amount of activities, lot of raw material suppliers are involved, lot of employees are involved, lot of workers are involved, lot of customers are involved, lot of different aspects are involved, government policies are involved. I don't want this business to be unregulated. I want this business to be regulated. I want to supervise everything. But that supervision is not possible if it comes under partnership law. I cannot supervise it because registration itself is optional for them. I cannot come and check everything. But I can check and impose rules regulation when it is forming part of your Companies Act. So we force them to convert into a company if there are more than 50 members. So that 50 comes from where? Not the partnership law, that comes from the Companies Act. And this two is not even mentioned by partnership law. Partnership law starts with the wording, it is an. But Contract Act states that agreement must be having at least two parties. The number two doesn't come from the partnership law, it indirectly derives its meaning from the word agreement. Agreement means indirectly how many parties must be there. At least two parties. Indirectly, partnership must have at least how many persons? Two. So 2 and 50. Can I say I'm still restricted with amount of finance? 50 members, I am restricted with the amount of finance. If I want to do business at a national level, or if I want to do business at the global level, at the international market, I'll not be able to sustain myself with 50 partners. Then we slowly converted from a partnership firm into a company form of a business, where a lot of advantages have been given as compared to partnership firm. You name all the advantages: separate legal entity, corporate veil, we have limited liability, we have the logic of common sale, we have perpetual succession. Lot of benefits are given. At the same point of time, we had to also impose rules and regulations to make sure that it is running the business in a rightful manner. A lot of compliance also have come in. So there is benefit. There is also, on the other side of the coin, we have lot of compliances to follow in order to do the business as a company. So company form of business was formed. For a company also will require two things again. Whether it is company or partnership firm, everything requires two things: finance and skill. Now the logic of finance. Because we had the concept of limited amount of finance, we started company with unlimited number of members. It is unlimited number of members. Say assume this. If say 500 members invested, so say 1 crore members invested a mere rupees of 1000. Can you invest money? You can invest money right now. You have done your articles maybe. Some of you have done your articles. You have your savings from your articles. What have you done with this huge amount of money? You received huge amount of article stipend, right? What have you done with that? You have saved it? No. Go to a partnership firm. If how much did you receive in your articles? A massive amount, right? Say we have two partners. Okay, imagine the situation. We have how many partners? Two partners, and each of the partner have brought in a huge amount of 1 crore. What's the total capital I have? 2 crores. Bringing in 1 crore. Imagine yourself, how much is there in your pocket now? In the how much? 5 rupees, 2 rupees, 50 rupees. So we have to start a business with how much amount? 1 crore each. How much of you are capable enough to bring in 1 crore today? Earning 1 crore is different. Saving up 1 crore and putting that into a business is completely different. How many of you are gonna bring in 1 crore today? Okay, fine. Tomorrow morning? After 1 year? 5 years. So 1 crore is a huge amount of money to save. Earning 1 crore is different. Saving this one and putting it into a business and taking risk is altogether different ball game. So 1 crore is a very huge amount. Can I say I'll find very little amount of people whom I have a mindset which is gonna match and are gonna bring in 1 crore of capital. That is practically very tough to find. Now assuming I have found 10 different people who are going to bring in 1 crore. What's the total capital I have? Or I have found, assuming, hypothetically I have found 50 members. 1 crore. Now, 50 members on whom you have mutual understanding, mutual trust. For your last 18, 19 years of age, name 5 people on whom you can completely trust your entire money, except your father, mother, and family. 5 people. Whom you will give all your money, whatever they do, will accept it. 5. Okay, give me 3 names. So finding 50 people who have mutual agency. On paper, that looks good, 50 members. But practically speaking, 50 is possible. Fine, hypothetically assuming 50 members, you have found 50 members who have mutual agency and we've invested 1 crore each. We are still stuck with a limited amount of capital, 50 crores. Imagine same thing. We have removed this restriction of 50. We got investment from 1 crore people, just a mere amount of 1000. How much investment will be brought in? So what are we trying to do under Companies Act? We are not trying to increase the amount of investment. We are trying to increase the number of investors, so that we'll be able to raise huge amount of finances with less amount of burden on each person. So can't you invest 1000 right away? We'll do some other scam, call our parents and say that we have to purchase some book, we'll get 1000 rupees. And investing 1000 is not a big deal for you. 1 crore people investing 1000 is going to give company a total of 1000 crores. Now they can do business at a large scale. So company's focus was not on the logic that I'll increase the amount of investment from each person, but rather I'll increase the number of investors. By increasing the number of investors, I'll be able to raise this huge amount of finance in my hand. Now I'll be able to do business at large scale. So the finance was sorted out by this logic that I'm going to increase the number of investors. And these investors, I'll call them as shareholders. So finance thing was sorted. But 1 crore investors, they have to come and run the business. 1 crore investors, they'll come and run the business. We'll sit in a small auditorium, 1 crore people, and we'll decide which stationery to purchase next morning. Black pen or blue pen. We'll come and decide it. Practically possible? Is it possible for 1 crore different mindsets to match with each other? So managing business with a large number of people was not a possibility, but Companies Act has made sure that finance can be brought in only when you have large number of people. So because of the fact that finance was sorted, but skill, getting the knowledge of business was not possible from these investors, then we decided that we'll appoint different set of people for doing the business activities called as experts. We'll not rely upon the investors, we'll rely upon hardcore experts. They have knowledge of the business, they have experience of the business, they have skill about the business. We'll appoint experts. These experts are technically under Companies Act called as directors. And all the directors combined together are called as board of directors. Individually, they are called as director. All of them combined together are called as board of directors. Now, these board of directors are not the persons initially having power to run the business. Imagine this process here. Who are the investors? Who are the owners? Shareholders. Who has the power to run the business? Shareholders. But do the shareholders have knowledge to run the business? Do the shareholders have skill to run the business? Do the shareholders have enough time to come and run the business? Because of the fact that shareholders are unable to come and manage the business on a day-to-day basis, the shareholders delegated their power to the board of directors. Start the process again. Who has the ultimate power in the company? Shareholders. But because shareholders are unable to manage the company, they delegated their powers to. It is not board of directors who have initially power in their hand. Board of directors never had power. Board of directors were given power by the shareholders. How do they get the power? By these constitutional documents, MOA and AOA. We'll get to that when the incorporation process starts. Each individual is called as a director. All of them combined together are called as. Now there is no logic behind these words, director, board of director. These are just technical words used by Companies Act to refer an expert. And conceptually, they are called as what? Experts. They are experts of business activities, but they have been referred by Companies Act as director and board of directors. Now, this is the first type of an entity, type of a business where the topic of finance and skill got separated. Look at sole proprietorship. Who brought in finance? Who brought in skill? Both of them were brought in by the same person. Partnership. Finance and skill was brought in by the partners, owners themselves. Coming to company form of business, finance was brought in by the shareholders who are not coming to the company, coming to the business activities on a daily basis, but that finance has been managed by the board of directors. Now, these board of directors are having a responsibility to manage the business in the rightful way in which the shareholders want them to do so. Got the sentence clear? Who is the ultimate owner? Shareholder. The business will be run as per the intentions of the shareholder, but run with the hands of the board of directors. The board of directors are the persons who are managing business according to the directions given by the shareholders. How does this communication happen? We'll discuss that later. We'll have the process for it. But can I say the board of directors are simply acting as puppets? Whose puppet? Shareholder. We'll remove this perception slowly. They're not exactly puppet. Remember them as puppets as of now. We'll remove that slowly. So these board of directors are agents or principals? Agents of the shareholders. Who appoints the board of directors? Absolutely wrong. Board of directors are not appointed by the shareholders. Board of directors are appointed by the company. Shareholders never appoint board of directors. We'll understand this once we are done with the case study, horse versus hard bottle. A very famous case study. We'll get to this case study in a couple of days. We'll understand the process there. But on an introduction basis, board of directors, the shareholders, once they have incorporated this artificial person company, they were dumb enough to believe that company will go do the business on its own. Is it practically possible for the company to do business? Company is an artificial person or natural person? Because the company cannot run its business on its own, the company went and appointed board of directors. Now think about it again. Who appointed board of directors? Who created the company? Company is an artificial person or natural person? The shareholders assumed that the business will be run by whom? The company itself. But company being an artificial person, because it cannot do it on its own, they went and appointed board of directors. But sir, board of directors are appointed by company, but company is an artificial person. How does the company appoint? How does a company appoint board of directors? Listen to the wordings properly. Board of directors are appointed by the company with the help of shareholders. End of the day, it is appointed by shareholders, but conceptually speaking, it is appointed by the company with the help of shareholders in the annual general meeting. So it is taking the help of shareholders to decide, but appointed by the company itself. You have to remember this word. We'll get to this also later. Board of directors are appointed by company with the help of shareholders. Now, based on this logic, give me the answers here. Focusing on only this part. Who is the ultimate owner? Shareholders have created something called as a company. Now, can I say company is acting as an agent of the? So, who is a shareholder? Shareholder is a principal. Company is an. Forget about this. Come to this relation. Company and the board of directors. Who appointed the board of directors? Company. Hence, the board of directors are indirectly acting as an agent, and the company is acting as a. That's your entire flow of topic. Shareholders are the principals who have created the company to run business activities, where company is acting as an agent of the shareholder. But company goes on to appoint board of directors, where board of directors are acting as an agent of the company, not of the shareholders. But can I say the board of directors are sub-agents? Can the shareholders control board of directors? Yes. But not directly, but through the help of company. Who is the board of director? Principal or agent? Who is the board of director? Agent of the. Company is an agent of the. So shareholder can control the company. Shareholder can also control the board of directors. So can I conclude with the answer? Shareholder can control board of directors? Yes, but not directly, but through a concept of sub-agent here. So once the company has established, once the company has engaged into shareholders, board of directors, etc., company starts doing its business activities. But for this company to come into existence, we have to complete the incorporation process. Must be incorporated or may be incorporated? And the word incorporation or registration are synonyms for the Companies Act. Sometimes the Companies Act itself uses the word incorporation, sometimes they itself use the word registration. There's no differentiation. So either of our words being used by Companies Act or us, answer is always same, incorporation or registration. So that should be your basic introduction of what a company is. From tomorrow, we'll start the process of incorporation and we'll start the process of how, or otherwise, we'll start the basics of company. What's the time? Okay, give me 1 minute of time. What's the Companies Act we are learning today? 2013. Was the Companies Act introduced in 2013? It was existing before 2013 also. We had Companies Act 1956. Before that, we had Companies Act 1913. Before that, we had Companies Act 1886. Before that, we had Companies Act in 1850s. So, Companies Act was not introduced in the year 2013 nor in the year 1856. It was existing from 1850s in India. It was introduced obviously by the British law. British government introduced the company law into India. Now the logic is that whenever the new act got introduced, the old act got repealed. What do you mean by repealed? The act is deleted from its very roots as if it never existed. Simply speaking, for you guys to understand in a practical way, if I have two books in my hand, say assuming I have the Companies Act, say 1956, and the new Companies Act 2013. As soon as the new Companies Act 2013 got introduced, the old company law book was completely put on fire and destroyed. Once it is destroyed, only book that is possible and available with me is Companies Act 2013. This is basically the logic of repeal, where the old law will be deleted, obliterated from its very roots as if never existed, destroyed. Once it is destroyed, only book that's possible in my hand is Companies Act 2013. Now, if at all I got incorporated in the year 1980, think an answer. Which year should I have I incorporated? 19. Which company law did I get incorporated under? 1956. But today, where the Companies Act 1956 is existing, if it is not existing, what law should I follow? 2013. Now, think it from the 2013's perspective. Companies Act 2013 is also applicable to those companies which were not incorporated under 2013. It might be incorporated under 1956, it might be incorporated under 1913, it might be incorporated under 1886. The ITC, Indian Tobacco Company, Imperial Tobacco, Indian Tobacco Company, whatever name you give it, ITC was incorporated in India in 1907 or 1908. It got incorporated in India centuries back. Is it still applicable with the Companies Act 2013? So Companies Act 2013 states that I'm an act which is applicable to every single company out there wherever you are incorporated. Either you are incorporated under my law or you are incorporated under the previous regime, any of the previous law, I'll consider you as a company and I'll apply my company law to you. So the intention of the company law here was I'm an act which is applicable to which company? Every company. Whether you are incorporated under this act or whether you are incorporated under previous law. That's where the definition comes in. Section number 2, subsection 20. I want you guys to remember the section numbers. Section 2, subsection 20 defines the word company. Company means a company.